All right, so welcome to another deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at something, well, I guess you could call it a podcast festival, but I think that really undersells it.
Oh, absolutely. From the source material you sent over, festival feels way too limiting.
Exactly. It's called the Pod Carnival, or Yi Kuang in Chinese.
And you've got some interesting stuff here. This sponsorship proposal alone, immersive, n-dimensional, this Guanyaji, he's got big plans.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so fascinating. It's not just about getting a bunch of podcasters together in a room. They're talking about movie theaters, hundreds of speakers, and like a huge audience reach, 1 million listeners or something.
Yeah, over 1 million. They want to make a real splash.
That's wild. Think about that for a second. 1 million people tuning in for a podcast festival. That tells you something about how popular this medium has become.
Right. But it also tells you something about the kind of experience people are craving these days.
Definitely. It's like they're not just looking for content, they're looking for connection. They want to be part of something.
Exactly. And that's where the movie theater element comes in. It's brilliant, actually.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
Well, it taps into that sense of shared experience, that feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself.
Kind of like we were talking about earlier, the hunger for authentic connection.
Yes. And think about it, the dimmed lights, the comfortable seating, the high-quality sound. You're completely immersed in the experience.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, we're so used to consuming content on our phones or laptops.
Yeah.
This is a chance to actually disconnect from all that and just be present in the moment.
Precisely. It's not just a podcast festival. It's an event, an experience.
So it sounds like this deep dive is going to be about a lot more than just microphones and headphones.
Oh, absolutely. This is about understanding a much bigger shift in how we connect, create, and experience the world around us. And I think there are some valuable lessons here for all of us, no matter what field we're in.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's get into it. What else can you tell us about this Pod Carnival and the man behind it?
And, speaking of the man behind it, this Guanyaji, he seems like quite a piece of work.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? Like ultramarathon runner, global sailing races, now a podcast festival and movie theaters. This guy does not sit still.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, how does one person even find the time?
Seriously. I'm exhausted just reading his bio. But I guess that's part of what makes this whole thing so intriguing. He's clearly not afraid to take risks, to think outside the box.
Absolutely. And to your point about not sitting still, I think that restlessness, that drive to push boundaries, it's all connected to his vision for the Pod Carnival.
Oh, interesting. So you see a link between running ultramarathons and organizing a podcast festival.
Oh, definitely. Think about the kind of mindset you need for both. The endurance, the resilience, the willingness to embrace discomfort. These are not things that come naturally to most people.
That's true. I guess most people don't subject themselves to those kinds of physical and mental challenges unless there's some deeper motivation driving them.
Exactly. And it seems like for Guan, that motivation is all about connection, about bringing people together around shared experiences.
It makes you wonder, what is it about those shared experiences that he finds so compelling? Why is that such a central theme for him across all these different aspects of his life?
Well, we can't get inside his head, obviously. But if I had to guess, I'd say it has something to do with the power of those experiences to create a sense of belonging, of community.
It's like he's creating these temporary worlds, these little pockets of utopia where people can connect on a deeper level, whether it's through running, sailing, or listening to podcasts.
That's a really interesting way to put it, those temporary worlds. And it makes me think about the movie theater setting again, because isn't that kind of what movies do too? They transport us to different worlds, different realities.
Right. And in a way, podcasts do the same thing. They allow us to step outside of our own heads for a little while and experience the world through someone else's eyes, someone else's ears.
Exactly. So it seems like Guan is onto something here. He's tapping into this very human need for connection, for escape, for transcendence, and he's finding creative ways to do it through the medium of podcasting.
It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. He's taken this thing that started out as a relatively solitary activity, listening to podcasts, and he's turned it into something communal, something social.
And he's doing it in a way that feels both familiar and completely new at the same time. I mean, we've all been to the movies, but most of us have never experienced anything like what he's creating with the Pod Carnival.
It's like he's taken this very traditional format, the movie theater, and he's breathed new life into it by using it in a way that nobody expected.
And by doing that, he's not just changing the way we experience podcasts. He's changing the way we think about events, about community, about the very nature of connection in the digital age.
So we've talked about the man, the vision, but what about the actual experience? I mean, listening to that podcast episode with the volunteer and the speaker, it sounds like things can get kind of crazy at the Quantival.
Well, you know how the proposal uses the word immersive? I think that definitely applies to the behind-the-scenes atmosphere, too.
Yeah, I had to chuckle at that volunteer describing it as chaotic but organized. Sounds like my kind of party.
Right. But I think there's a method to the madness.
Yeah. How so?
Well, remember how we were talking about Guan's personality, the whole ultramarathon runner thing? It seems like that willingness to embrace discomfort, to push boundaries, it extends to the way he runs this event, too.
So you're saying the chaos is intentional, like it's part of the experience.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where anything can happen, where people are encouraged to step outside of their comfort zones and just see what happens.
Which I guess could be exciting or terrifying, depending on your personality type.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. It attracts a certain kind of person, someone who's open to new experiences, who's not afraid of a little chaos.
And it sounds like it works. I mean, both the volunteer and the speaker in that episode, they talked about how positive and supportive the environment was, even with all the craziness going on.
Exactly. Because when you strip away all the structure, all the rules and expectations, it creates space for something else to emerge, something more authentic, more spontaneous.
It's like that old saying, the best laid plans.
Exactly. Sometimes you just have to trust the process, let go of control, and see where it takes you.
Which is kind of a scary thought, but also kind of liberating.
Exactly. And I think that's part of what makes the Pod Quantival so compelling. It's a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful experiences come from embracing the unknown, from stepping outside of our comfort zones and allowing ourselves to be surprised.
It's really making me rethink how I approach not just events, but life in general.
Me too. And I think that's a testament to the power of what Guan Yaji is creating here. He's not just putting on a podcast festival, he's sparking a conversation about what it means to connect, to create, to truly experience the world around us in a meaningful way.
And to think, it all started with a love of podcasts and a willingness to embrace a little chaos.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? You never know where a single idea, a single spark of passion might lead you. So to our listeners out there, the next time you find yourself drawn to something unconventional, something that challenges your assumptions and pushes you outside of your comfort zone, maybe, just maybe, that's a sign you should lean in and see where it takes you.
Who knows? It might just lead you to your own version of the Pod Quantival.
Now, wouldn't that be something?